Hello and welcome, dear friends and family and community of mankind on earth with me right now. A sentient being, a conscious being. And I'm speaking to you today as the diplomat of earth. I will not show you any certificates. No postage stamps, no signatures for that. What I can prove to that is my life's journey, which has led me to this point. I want to ask everyone listening to this here, can you feel it? Can you sense? I'm asking you to sense in which times you're living in right now. Because as is most often the case, only when you look back on historical events do things look very different to when you're observing them as they happen in the moment. We know there's a lot going on our planet, on Earth, and this is all has to lead inevitably to resolution of this crisis, as the late Jiddu Krishnamurti rightly said, is a crisis of consciousness in which we as mankind find ourselves in. And everything will come to the point of checkmate, where the inevitable conclusion of creation happens and settles for everyone to realize that the truth, the absolute truth, is independent of what anyone thinks of it. The absolute one and only truth is independent of any perception of it. Everyone will come to realize that this, the one and only truth, is the basis of any form of communication, any form of diplomacy, and the basis for any argument you want to put, for any claim you want to put forward of this crisis of consciousness on Earth. The basis will have to be recognize that there is a to those of mankind who are dedicated to the truth, that will lead to the ultimate conclusion that is a peaceful resolution of this crisis. And this is what we're looking at right now. The plans, vampire, archon empire, have been severely damaged. Severely. I would go as far as to say irreparably. It cannot be put back together again, as Humpty Dumpty couldn't be put back together again. So, in their panic and in their inability to see that all of their efforts have to fail because they're not aligned with the truth. And that is why you have lost the entire empire, the entire serving the involutionary archon vampire empire has failed because you do not align to truth. It is all based on deception. Your entire modus operandi of wanting to colonize and invade Earth is based on deception, which is to hide the truth from those who you are invading. Well, you can't hide the truth from me because I claim to speak in the name of the one and only truth, which puts me into a position of power. I am authority here on earth. That's why I'm speaking as the diplomat of the earth. And all of the higher forces, I'm talking about forces of ultimate power that govern this reality. There's more than just one archetypal energy. There's more than just one archetypal figure where most so-called truth activists focus themselves on, namely on the dark occult New World Order. There is more archetypal energies than that of Satan, than that of the involutionary force that the archon vampire empire serves. As it is called in the occult tradition, in the tradition of occult knowledge, of Gnosticism, Gnosis, dealing with knowledge, ultimate knowledge, the most important knowledge, need not be complicated knowledge, has to be basic, simple knowledge for every kindergartner to understand, because the truth is simple. And that is the single one thing we need right now, is simple. The reason why you, the network, listening in on this, and by the way, as someone said this last time, because there was a lot of interference with my last video that I did. Yeah, bloody right. They don't want this information out there. They try to distort it as much as possible so the message doesn't get across. It comes across to the ones who actually are listening to this, who are meant to listen to this. And someone alluded to the fact that this most certainly has the markings of Israeli intelligence agencies or any other intelligence agency worldwide. Yeah, well, I really, really want them to listen into this. I don't care if it's the Mossad, I don't care if it's the CIA, I don't care whatever satanic network you're a part of. I want you to be listening in on this, because otherwise you do not have access to this information that I'm sharing with you, and the information I'm sharing with you is extraordinary information that has massive ramifications, massive implications for all of creation here on earth. I, who have the name Stephen Wybrow as a frequency, I want my name on every single list of intelligence agencies as one of the most dangerous individuals on earth. Yeah, put me on there. Yeah, good. So what? So what? Everyone listening in on this, okay? I've had a stressful few weeks. And I'm happy because this is what brings me into my power. True power is to know that you're in command. And I want every one of them listening in on this. I want to be on all of their lists. Because you're right, I am very dangerous. But only to a force that sacrifices mankind on the altar of death, has done so. And we can go way back in history, but let's pick it up since the Second World War. There is no peace treaty to the Second World War. That is a fact, which stands back in amazement, was meant to be so the wars can continue in all the different forms that it has done throughout the entire planet. Second World War never ended. So we need to speak about things, because this is really important. We need to end all wars. This is what I'm here to do, which makes me a very dangerous individual to the vampire empire of the archons. Yeah, well, that's bad luck for you, not for me, because I know how reality works. And just to emphasize this point again, they're all listening. The force that you vampires are afraid of, I delegate all of the tasks and all of the job that I can't do because I have enough on my plate doing what I have to do as the diplomat of Earth. I'm delegating everything that is better served to be done by other forces. I delegate to those forces right now, because we need you here on Earth, and they're with us right now. They're listening. Just as an example, the force of ayahuasca and datura, very powerful. And all the others who I can't put names to right now, they're listening in, they're with us right now. You know why they're here? Because they know at least someone is speaking up about the real stuff, about the things that actually really matter, about the things that really need to happen right now. For we're being invaded by a force that has no legitimacy to do so. Therefore, I, as a High Commander of the highest source, I command justice to happen now. Because there is such a thing as justice. And it needs to happen now. And I kindly ask for all the protection that's necessary for me, because I look out for my protection. I unhack all the hacks, reality hacks, that being for all of the people who don't know what I'm talking about. That's not my problem either. Go back to the videos that we've got here on the channel and study yourself. I don't use every video to explain everything. I need to get to other points. I take care of my protection by detecting, decoding, and defecting to seal and protect the situation by knowing impositions of realities, impositions of reality hacks. So when I defect them and I seal and protect the situation, I am anchored in original natural reality. And I have to continually do. I do kindly ask the entire force of the one and only highest source of evolution for my protection in doing all of this. And this is where very important, how you see how very important it is to our, because there's other forces at work here also. So, let me speak a little bit about the fact that I consider myself to be the diplomat of Earth. First of all, anyone listening to this here can be a diplomat. Yeah. It means speaking. It means sharing your intel. And for all of you listening in here, you have about the most intel than other people in the truth community. This is science. As I see it, the way I see it, is that the so-called truth and freedom community, or the leaders, the pioneers, you've got people like David Icke. I also want to mention at this point Sasha Stone. Sasha Stone. Max Egan, and all of them when they started in the 90s and 2000s and all that. I now have strong reason to believe, strong reasons to know, actually, I don't believe anything, to know that they were installed in order to not have the real people like me, like you listening. I'm a pioneer. I'm quadruple Aries. I have the pioneer function running through my veins and through my genetics. What has been most put a cap on is the real people speaking out, making their channels, and speak the voice of reason. And those who actually want to make a difference and not just talk about it. Okay, the Max Egans are the ones just talking about it. The David Ickes are the ones who are just talking about it and write one book after the other and talking the same thing over and 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 over again. Your voice is needed. That's why I made the challenge the other day. I'm ready to support anyone who can resonate with that feeling. I would support anyone to come forward, open up your own channel. I will support it. I'll do interviews with you, have a chat together about things, and come forward in speaking. Because most of the front runners of the truth movement are not what you think they are. They're not. This is a multi-layered control system. It's multidimensional in nature. And I had to pierce through that control system and see that in actual fact, they're gatekeepers. Mark Passio, for example, does not remove my name from the One Great Work Network when I told him to. Transgression of boundaries wherever you look. Or they ignore you. Now you've got the reason why the Gnostic Takeover is not invited for any interviews. Nowhere. How is that? It's a controlled environment. They don't want truth and freedom like you. They don't speak the language of earth. Fully connected to earth in your heart. You do, not them. That's why it's been a lonely place for me for a very long time, but I can handle it. I even had to cry a lot yesterday when I missed my brother Errol. The force of nature is real. It shows its feelings. Because it's authentic. So, coming back to why you, as the involutionary force and the invading force, the Archon Vampire Empire, why you are failing, is because you want more and more power over Earth, and it's not power really, because you do all of this in a state of fear, because you see everyone who's not corruptible, like me, who would never ever be corrupted. You see people like me as a threat in your fear, because you're governed by fear, because what you do is not control, what you do is not power. You don't come from a position of power. You are powerless. That's why you have to control. That's the whole foundation of your invading empire is control. That's why I know you have to have all sectors covered. And most of all, it was important to you to control the flow of information in the alternative arena, alternative media. I'm not even going to talk about the mainstream media. Everyone knows how the mainstream media is run by the transatlantic organization and all of the multinationals. Don't even have to waste my time and everyone's time. I'm talking about the real deal, the alternative media. I know you, the Archon Vampire Empire, needed total control over the alternative flow of information, because there you've got people actually really awakening. But you keep them in loops. I know this because I've been in the Max Egan loop for 5 years. I was in the David Icke loop for 9 to 10 years. So I can speak about this with authority, through experience. And everyone can get as offended as you like. However, you will come to that conclusion one day. If you don't come to it now, it's no problem. You'll take your time, how long it needs. They needed to control the alternative media because they need to control the flow of information. Very important. Because, if you can answer the question why with because, you are talking about the causal factors, why that is so. The control of the flow of information is a form of mind control. That's what most people don't know. Mind control is not just one thing. It's not just your smartphone. It's not just the etymology of the term government. Mind control, from the root word gubernare, which means to control, and mentis, which is the mind. Government etymologically means mind control. Is not just wearing the, when you go to the supermarket, it's not the only form of mind control. Again, we're talking about multidimensional. One of the most hidden forms of mind control is information control. It just so happens that that's what Sasha Stone studied, is information management. Yes, I know you hate me. I know. It's okay. It's okay. Don't cry, because you can't cry, because you're empathyless. Get as angry as you like. Get as angry as you like. Come on. Go up right now. The biggest form of mind control that is not recognized as mind control is the control of information that's circulating. That's why they censor the internet. Yeah, but it goes even far deeper, which is the censorship of information. That's why the Gnostic takeover only went to Gareth Icke's Right Now only once. And during the interview, after I finished, he just pissed off and didn't even say goodbye. Yeah, control busted. Next thing I had to do is question your father. The Gnostic takeover were on Max Egan twice. So you would say, yeah, you were on Max Egan, it's all right. Yeah, he put a cap on Errol. Go and watch those interviews. He didn't want the information from Errol. Yeah, because the information about shamanism is what you don't want out there, do you? True shamanism. Coming back. Oh, their worst nightmare. And the way Errol shares his information with pure humility. He's the last one who would call himself a shaman. He would just say, I'm Errol. Yeah, how can I assist? It's what Errol does. He's been without money for I don't know how long. Because we share. Really put a cap on Errol in the Max Egan interviews, talking about shamanism. And in the occult world, what they didn't want is the energy of Errol. Because I, at that point, was still in a state of imbalance, still under mind control. Yeah, can you believe it? Up to the last half a year, I was under mind control, because there's many levels, and I just happened to be honest with myself. And not the collective of the truth and freedom movement who want to wake everyone else up and play old victim. I have to read this to everyone because that's how absolutely sickening it is. Okay? This is what describes the victim mentality of the alternative freedom movement, so-called freedom movement, because it has nothing to do with it. You might recognize a character or two. We tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen. We tried to show you and you refused to see. We sent you videos, you refused to watch. We sent you articles, you refused to read. You deleted us, unfriended us, belittled us. But we stand here still fighting for you to awaken. I cannot even eat as much as I would love to vomit. It's pure victimhood. It's what absolutely, if you want to piss me off and really get my rage going, yeah, go and say a thing like this, or go and tell me, oh yeah, we still need to wake the others up. There's too little awake, and I'll be standing there. No, brother. You have to fucking wake up. And that's the truth. People don't want to hear it. That's how you know it's the truth. This is victimization. And the entire so-called truth and freedom community, Mark Passier's, Max Egan, and David Icke, they're all about waking up the masses. The underlying dynamics. Someone points it out like me, I bring it from the unconscious into the conscious. And either you rebel against that, get as offended as you like, or a penny drops for those who know what I'm speaking about. A penny drops and they're like, yeah, actually that's true. Actually I do hear Max often speaking about, yeah, but it woke a lot of, and this is waking up a lot of folks, and it's waking them up. And Mark Passio, you might realize, you're not doing a good job yet, and we still have to wake more people up, and the world is like it is because you've not woken up enough people. When he's bugger asleep, Mark is. What an asleep man. Yeah, for all the knowledge that he has, it's just intellectual knowledge. And he can't transmute his anger. Just stay stuck here because he himself represents a loop. So that's what they had to have covered, the Archon Vampire Empire. It's the control of the flow of information. But why? Why always leads you to the causal factors? Hence, the Diplomat of Earth has the vibrational information input and imprint of the Y-brow. They need to control the flow of information in order for control of perception. It's perception control. That's why the live streams that I do are lethal. That's why they try, like the last video, go look at the last video, they hack in every 5 seconds. I don't even know what this video is going to look like. At least I tried to have a balanced stream. Let's see how it comes out. And for the ones it has to reach, it will reach anyway because you'll get through it. It's about perception control. They want to control your perception through the flow of information, because when the flow of information quickens and you start to decode quicker, the quicker you decode information, the higher your vibration goes up, your level of being, because your perception and the self is one and the same. Perception is equivalent to your energetic state of being. And your perception is not only equivalent to the energetic state of being, but your perception is equivalent to yourself. And your perception is what creates your reality that you experience. So they want to control the flow of information. That's why the Gnostic takeover is never anywhere being interviewed because it would break the circus of the Matrix. Unhack minds instantly like, oh, what the fuck? And then they'll come to our channel and binge watch and actually, oh yeah, finally. How often did we hear that people said, finally I got to you guys and you gave me the missing links? Yeah, that's what we're meant to do. And I had to find out that the whole alternative media was a circus being run to keep people asleep. What a horrifying thing to wake up. Do you think I like it? No. I'd love the world to be a little different. Hanging out with the Max Egans and David Icke and doing it together, you know, and sharing information. We move on and all that. It's not like that. It's not like that. That's why I have to say your voice is everything. The reason why you are not doing a show is because you're being attacked the moment this message resonates with you. You are fully under full-blown attack, psychic attack, to give you all the reasons why you shouldn't start speaking out. Because the more you speak out, the more you realize that you have everything it takes to be a voice of reason, to also be the diplomat of Earth, because it is not exclusive to me. It's just that I have the pioneering function. The whole alternative media arena is keeping everyone asleep. A lot of them consciously. David Icke was certainly educated by the intelligence agencies in Britain. Best mates with Alex Jones, who was educated in the US of A. And they run an alternative media empire that is 100% controlled by the archon vampire empire that serve Satan directly, the involutionary force and principle that is only there to restrict evolution, to control evolution until it is removed and slayed, which is what I'm here to do. What a horrible thing to wake up to, but they have to control the flow of information, not have the Gnostic takeover on anywhere, to unhack minds for real. They have to control the flow of information because through that they control your perceptual state. By controlling your perceptual state, they control your energetic state of being. And by controlling your perceptual and energetic state of being, they control you and your reality. Because you do not believe in yourself. You do not trust yourself. That's the hardcore truth. And let this be told by someone who has not trusted himself until he was 31. What a mind prison it is. Do you think I've been like this the whole time? Pfft. You have no idea. Okay. That's what I wrote. We are conditioned to not trust ourselves. It's the whole foundation of this mind prison. Yeah, the truth and the resolution has to be simple, doesn't it? You have to begin to trust yourself. Even if your first shows are not perfect. Do you think mine were perfect? Go and take a look at my first videos. I mean, I took a look yesterday and I had to switch off. I was like, wow, sweet. Yeah. Evolution grows. And we're growing. Yeah. So, that's what you know. The alternative media is here to control the self and reality. It's all about your manifestation of reality. That's what it's all about. Okay. I want to come back to the Archon Vampire Empire. The reason why you're failing is because you want more and more control over affairs on the planet through ways of private authority So only you are authority because you only act in the private, because for you the Constitution doesn't apply. Does it, Mr. Soros? Does it, Mr. Kissinger? In your legal fiction, Mr. Kissinger or Mr. Rothschild? Oh, you've got a nice place on the Monopoly board, don't you? You take a piss on constitutions, don't you? Then you laugh about mankind because they believe in that set of law. Oh, how glad I am that which makes you afraid. And, well, where are you going to go with that fear? You're certainly not coming to me, because I know how to unhack the hacks. No getting through to me. That's why you fail, because it just so happens that it's embedded within the fabric of reality, which is why you want to create an artificial reality, don't you? You don't like reality, do you? That's why you want a construct, a matrix, which is not reality. Actually, and this is what I have to say, I was wrong in last week's video, in the last video, because it's not an artificial reality, it's a simulation of a reality. It's actually a construct. An artificial construct is what the matrix is. Go and take a look at the etymology of a construct. A construct is something different to reality. Reality is organic, a construct is inorganic. Yeah, you don't take responsibility. That's why you fail. It is embedded within the fabric of creation that the more responsibility you take on, the more power you have, the more say you have in things. That's why I'm the diplomat of the earth, because I've taken a lot of responsibility. A lot of responsibility. I stopped all self-harm that I was causing to myself unconsciously by ways of smoking, by ways of eating meat. Yeah, that's practiced Satanism. Eat meat. I loved meat. Had to get rid of it. Had to come clean with it. Had to come clean with myself. Because that which makes you want to eat meat is the energy of death. That's addictive. That's a satanic ritual right there. And you can get as offended as you like, because I had to get as offended as I liked. I didn't like that. And then I went into my cold turkey and I realized actually it's not so bad. Just 2 days ago, my whole family was eating kebabs and I was looking, I was like, not joining in that satanic ritual, which is the reason why no one can hack my reality, because that's what the forces that govern this ultimately, that's why they're behind me. That's why forces of ultimate power are listening to this. They want freedom for humanity. They want the truth to come out. Yeah. And they're thinking, here we've got a conduit, because he is moral or she is moral. Otherwise, they don't choose you. That's as hardcore as it is. That's the truth. They choose you if you are moral. If you are moral, you get attacked by the dark force, which then tell you, oh, you can't do this. Oh, you can't have your own show. Oh, you can't do what Steve is doing, when Steve is actually saying that I was the one who was most questioning myself. I wanted every single cop-out that I could find, every single nuance that told me that I'm failure, I'm a loser, so I don't do it. Every single thing that I wanted to find so I don't do it. Because being terrified. But then I started doing it and I loved it. Public speaking, absolutely afraid of it. Standing in front of people and speaking the truth about 5G and digital totalitarianism and the technocratic takeover and invasion of artificial intelligence, machine consciousness. And the solution to that being the natural order, heart-based intelligence, the counterfeit, the checkmate of artificial intelligence. Speaking to you right now. Supported by forces of ultimate power. Absolutely afraid to stand in front of those people. You should have seen me. My first presentation, 10th of April 2019, in front of 45 people. I was shaking. You know what the only thing was that mattered? Is getting on that fucking stage. Start speaking. After 5 to 10 minutes, I was at ease, yeah, because I was synchronizing with the forces that govern this universe. That flow. And the flow of information starts happening. And next thing you know, after months of doing presentations on digital totalitarianism, next thing that happens is you've got a lockdown that's never happened before, apparently. Take a look at the Tartarian history and the resets that they always want to make with civilization to manipulate them into the AI mainframe. Probably, this is what the Diplomat has no time to do right now, to go into history, but probably this is just the end game, the end phase of what started back then. There's pictures of people muzzled up at the time of the First World War. All you have to do is start. And that's why I'm talking about this. Everyone get in touch with me in the comment sections. Right, okay, you actually hit a nerve there. Yeah, and when I hit a nerve, and when it triggers you, and when you think you're the last one to do it, you're probably the one having to do it. That's how it goes. When things come, because I'm here, that's why they hate me so much. I trigger things in the unconscious of other people, bring it to the conscious mind. And then they're like, hang on a minute. Oh yeah, that's what they've been hiding from me. And then Steve tells everyone that you've been under massive attack for you not to come forward. That's why you have the attacks. They don't just attack anyone. Then they want to make you believe, oh, you're nothing. You see, everyone else is better than you. They did that with me. Oh, see, everyone else is better than you. Oh, you don't have to do a thing because David Icke's already speaking about it. Max Higgins already speaking about it. And it's all a bloody lie. It's all a stupid lie. It's archon stupidity. All right. Let me move on. I want to talk about law, okay? That's really important right now. Law. Natural order, natural law, as you know, is the solution to all of the problems that we have. Natural law and the natural order is what governs this reality. I'm talking about natural organic reality in which we're anchoring in. It's governed by natural law principles, by the natural order. It's embedded, it is informed, the whole fabric of reality. If you were to see the codes that make the sun, that make everything green, that make the earth brown and all the colors, everything is informed by the principles of the natural order. Everything is. And what we're doing right now in the microcosm I'm going to speak about this later. It's a little bit topsy-turvy. No, what we're doing in the microcosm right now, I'm going to stick with it. What we're doing in the microcosm right now is we are being given the blueprint for the takeover. What we've always been talking about. And people are like, has the Gnostic takeover already happened? It's a long-term process. But you can, like, everything started to go crazy when we did a ceremony of ayahuasca and datura, me and Errol together on a Thursday together with Liz, and on a Saturday, the 13th, no, 12/13, isn't that interesting? On the 12th over to the 13th, 12, 13, also very significant, of February. We made an intention and we asked for the blueprint for the takeover to come forward, to be shown to us the blueprint of the takeover. How are we going to actually take over? Errol has been missing since the 16th of February. 12th, 13th, we did the ceremony of the entire Archon Vampire Empire, because we say so. Yeah? Intention, it's all about Gnosticism. Gnosticism is intentionality. It's to have an aim. I always talk about this, the telestai, telos meaning aim. And then with that aim, that intention that you set, walk the path. And then you make this a reality, which is the takedown of the involutionary force that is genociding on Earth, has no legitimacy to do it because we do not consent with genocide, as we are guardians and protectors of Earth. That's why she invited us to be here. That's why we're here, to protect life, to protect the elderly, to protect the children, to protect our women, to protect all of mankind, to tell the men to get up from their asses and stop bullshitting about. Stop playing with yourself. Let the charge stay in. Be the charge. Protect this realm. I'm speaking to every man out here. Protect your women. Protect the children. Protect the elderly. That's what's going to make all the difference. Not Q fucking and on. Not bloody Putin. You haven't a clue about Putin. You have no idea where he was educated, what his real agenda is. It's us that it comes down to. Oh, one of the principles of the natural order is the principle of the... Very simple. You see this here? The upright pyramid, as I keep explaining. That's the electrical pyramid. What discharges any electrical flow? It's the magnetism. It's the downward pyramid. That's the truth. It discharges the entire matrix that is only electrical based. Only based on electricity. That's why they censored the work of Nikola Tesla, because he was bringing this in with magnetism. 0-point energy field. The 6 to the 9. The 369 sequence of Tesla. Oh, they don't really don't want anything to do with that. Yeah, because the magnetism, heart-based intelligence, discharges their electrical-based system. That's why. Again, a thing that I allude to is take a look at all those movies where they want to destroy evidence that is on a computer, and they bring up what magnetism, magnets, and the computer trips out and it doesn't work. Yeah, they show it in the movies. And what we're doing in the microcosm now, that is what shows us the blueprint. We didn't like that too. Thing we know, Leonie, the daughter of Liz, the property of Liz, is stolen by the network. And now the diplomat has to do his work, I'm the first one to say I need to stop moping. I'm telling everyone else, focus, and everyone here, thank you for all your support, but I'm just as human and mankind that you are. I mope sometimes too, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is stupid. Yeah, happens to me too. But I needed to grow into that and really be challenged. And you can't believe how challenging the last few weeks have been for me, even for my own safety. When they break into your house, does something to you, let me tell you. I'm still integrating that, which is why I do the breathing, why I do the ice cold water, because that's how I anchor in natural organic reality, where I'm the one and only exclusive authority in my reality without any reality imposition. I do this because I do the breathing of Wim Hof. You can take a look at the Gnostic Takeover on Telegram. We've got it there. Type it in, Wim Hof breathing technique, very simple. And that's when you do the last gasp, and you let the breath, you let it stay inside. What you're doing is you're activating the magnetics through breath work. Yes, that's what you're doing. Discharges the whole matrix. They really don't want you to know this stuff. That's why I'm sharing it. That's where I'm punishing the evildoers, okay? Those who are too demented to even just want to stop. Like, they're all victim. That's how I punish them, by sharing this information. It's the breathing, and it's the ice cold water. And yes, it's not wonderful. Every time before I go in the ice cold, I don't. Yeah. What do you think is trying to prevent me from going in there? It's water. It's natural. And then shock, healing, massive healing, massive healing. That's why if you're not doing the ice cold water and not the breathing, when you've been alerted to it and you still want to think that the world's magically going to change because you don't have to do it, someone else is going to do it for you, you're very mistaken. Very mistaken. And that's the whole point that I made today, because someone on the Gnostic Takeover said, well, why hasn't Steve commented on the vax mandates having been stopped in Austria? Yeah, because I told everyone in the beginning it's a bluff. Yeah. Mandatory. That's where this conversation is in mandatory law. Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, at the end of the show, this stuff. Mandatory law. Yeah, those two are actually opposites of each other. The one excludes the other. Something that's mandatory cannot be law. It's crazy. But what I want to say is, what we're solving in the microcosm, getting Errol and Leonie out of there, is the blueprint for the takeover. When we manage to do that, which we will, because I don't want any hope. I know we're going to do it. That's the whole difference. I know this is going to happen, that Errol is free and that Leonie is free. I know that with every cell of my being. I know that. And that will create that reality. And I'll get all the information needed for that to become a reality. So we're doing this in the microcosm. First you do it in the microcosm, and then it will be done in the macrocosm. Okay? And it's the following. So, the diplomat of Earth speaking is because of the extraordinary information that I have access to, which is power. And that is only the basis of power. Having access to this information, you need to pull the trigger. You need to make use of that information, which is what I'm doing by way of notices and video content. It is all about the Trinity. You have an intention, you have access to this knowledge, then the feeling, and then the action of this knowledge. You have to apply that knowledge. Only knowledge applied is power. Everything else is just the potential of power. Real power is knowledge applied. You need to walk the talk. All right, so the way we're checkmating them is that what is being run as an international system of law. International law, in other words. In German, it's called Völkerrecht. International law. We hear a lot of these days about international law, don't we? We don't normally hear that with the invasion of the US. Completely illegal invasions and genociding of mankind. In the Middle East, we don't hear international law there. But suddenly, because Russia in the Ukraine, suddenly a thing like international law exists. Well, actually, the entire global governance system, global governance, that's what it is. The whole global governance system is run under what is termed international law. Other terms for it is admiralty law. And what it basically comes down to, you know, the information alchemist that I am, I like to alchemize information. It's all based on contract law. All of it. It's lex mercatoria. The laws of contract. Where's the contract? Well, I like to keep saying. So, over the years, so we're going back to the Second World War. That was the implementation of an institution, okay, officially tasked to preserve peace in the world. Do you know what institution that is? Oh, yeah. No, not the World Economic Forum. The United Nations Corporation. That's what it is. And we've been running, okay, a simulation of global governance for many years, ever since the Second World War, ever since even before that, we had a kind of simulation through the League of Nations, as it was called at the time. But that went belly up. And so they did it in the Second World War. It's all a step-by-step progression, okay? It is a modus operandi of colonization of an invading force. That's behind all of the corporations. That is driving, manipulating, and guiding, fully controlling the perceptions of the Kissingers, of the Soroses, of the Rothschilds, of all of it. It is the Archon vampire empire, as was also portrayed in the movie Blade, for example. It's all about blood. They love blood. Blood, sacrificial rituals. That's what they're all into. They're Satanists. And coming back to the point, so in official history and the official dynamics of politics, it's global governance. And that is what the UN is. It's global governance. And we've had a simulation of that global governance ever since its implementation, since the Second World War, but gradually. Because this is an insidious force that loves to operate from the background, okay, and have everyone do its dirty work on the front stage. That's why all of the front stage people, up to the Rothschilds, up to the Pope, okay, these front stage actors, they're doing the dirty work for the force that operates in the background. They're doing all the dirty work. They're getting all the blames, and like people are like, oh, the fucking Rothschilds and the fucking this and that. Da, 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 da. What people don't focus on is not the names, but the modus operandi of the system that governs the Archon vampire empire. We need to focus on their system and the modus operandi, which is what I've done. 13 years. Where do you get in 13 years of study? That's why I call myself the diplomat of Earth. 13 years of study into the system and modus operandi of the Archon Vampire Empire, directed under the orders of the involutionary force of creation. That's what I studied. And what it is, coming to international law and the simulation of global governance, okay? You've got institutions like the European Union that were there to unify, okay? In other words, to collectivize all of the nations and all of the folks, you can say, or all of the tribes of Europe, all the tribes of Europe that were, since the Second World War, in particular, all the tribes of the people and the languages, specifically with the same languages, they were brought into nation states. That's why we have France and Spain and Italy and all the different cultures of Europe, which is beautiful. I love it. I love Giovanni Italiano. Hey, bring me the pizza. What is the best pizza? Oh, no, but no hacks, please. No salami. It's a hack. Don't want to be hacking my matrix. I create reality in the organic, natural reality. I don't want to be in position of reality that is technocratic in nature, Giovanni. What are you doing? But give me the pizza anyway. A little tomato sauce, but no, don't be easy on the cheese. Francesco. I love Europe. I love speaking Italian. Parlo italiano anche. Perché è necessario quando sei diplomatico del Earth per parlare multilingua. Ma è veramente importante parlare italiano perché è veramente difficoltoso not speaking questo language. Love all of Europe. Coming back to the point, okay? I know this is serious, but sometimes I just need to practice a little bit Italiano because we need to have some space for some fun also, especially in these times. Whew, yeah. And that's also one of the reasons why forces of ultimate power, they're behind me. They're supporting me because they love humor. Who would have guessed? I would also support guys like, yeah, humor. It's universal. It's intelligence. That's what we need. Coming back to the point. The European Union, as we know, was created as an umbrella organization that is then umbrellaed under the United Nations system. And you have other forms of unions throughout the world. However, I know more about the European Union because I'm based in Europe also. And what you have with the European Union and its institutionalization is you've got different treaties. You've got the Treaty of Rome from 1957. You've got when the separate countries joined the European Union. For example, Austria joined in 1995. Britain, I think, joined in 1973. The Treaty of Maastricht, and then the Lisbon Treaty. And in German, you get to find out what the Lisbon Treaty really is. It's called der Lissabonner Vertrag, the Lisbon Contract. Here we go again. The Lisbon Contract, 2009. That was. They wanted to make a European constitution at the time for the whole of the European Union, but that would have been too obvious. So they had to backpedal with that. And so they just renamed it to the Lisbon Treaty, which is a contract, and have the European Union govern these countries, these nations. But again, as is classic with this force in the background. So in the foreground, people think, oh, it's Italia, and Italia is making its independent decisions, or it's France, or it's Denmark, or the United Kingdom. They're making their independent decisions because they're separate countries, and they just happen to be part of the new club, the European Union. And most people do not know how these dynamics work. So what you have is a nation state that still coexists, at least theoretically, an international structure of governments. National structure of a government, nation state, together with an international structure of governance. So you've got governments as nation states and governance, an international system that these nation states are embedded in at the same time. So the politicians of each state have to sell. They're salesmen. They have to sell to their population that such a thing as a nation state exists. Because the whole culture is identified by it. Yeah, we're Austrians. Yeah, we're French. Yeah, we're Italian. However, the real dynamics that we can see in the world, and that's the whole basis of how this force in the background operates from the background. When we look at the actual facts of how things happen in the world, that national structure, the national sovereignty of nations has long been taken away. And it's only global governance that we're seeing, which is the international system of law. However, politicians are still selling the idea of sovereign nation states, although it's all being governed by international organizations like the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, or in specific regions like the European Union. And this is perfect to describe how this force in the background, this archon vampire empire works, because I always keep referring to them as the dark occult. For very specific reason, the dark occult vampire archon empire. Because to hide from the light of truth. Definition that I'm giving to you, which I have from the book. Yeah, the Diplomat also needs books to work from. This government of the shadows, parapolitics and criminal sovereignty. So I'm not just drawing this out of the ether. There's a lot of things are coming through, but I'm doing my homework the whole time. So what describes the invading force perfect is a shadow phenomenon. And this definition fits it perfectly, which is from the book Government of the Shadows. A shadow phenomena can be explained by the existence of the invisible can be deductively inferred by inexplicable anomalies in the behavior of visible events. So the existence of the invisible can be deductively found out, that it's the shadow governments, all right? The shadow government, in other words, working from the background. The existence of the invisible can be shown through inexplicable anomalies in the behavior of visible events. For example, If we had different nation states all across the world who are acting sovereignly and who represent sovereign nation states, you have an outbreak of the COVIDian cult scam, as I like to call it, the COVIDian cult's imposition, the next phase of their invasion, beginning of 2020, and all of the nation states throughout the world, exceptions, they act in the same way. They have the same measures, even though these measures do not work. They implement them. World Health Organization in each and every single country, dictating. And look what finds out. Look what happens to heads of states who do not follow the agenda. The president of Madagascar, for example, murdered. The president of, was it no, not Zimbabwe, Tanzania, the president of Tanzania, murdered. Go check that out. And there was another country also, and also another country in Europe, not Sweden, another country, who also exposed that the bribes that they wanted to give him in order to implement all of the measures, meaning lockdown and the muzzles and everything. And he said no. He came public with that. Savichenko, can't remember anymore. Was it Belarus? That was the government of Belarus, yeah? So all of the world's countries act the same way, yeah, because they're all member states of the United Nations. That's why. And you have United Nations Agenda 2030 that they're in the existence of the invisible can be shown through otherwise inexplicable anomalies in the behavior of visible events. Everyone acts the same. No matter in which country you go, you've got the same rules. Yeah, because it's an agenda by the empire that we're bringing to the fore. Right. Now, I want to talk about reality. So this could be a longer version because I'm happy to keep going. This is important information and it will take as long as it has to. All right. So, with the COVIDian cult, and that was basically the declaration of war, not only throughout the world, throughout mankind, but especially onto the geographic, sort of like it was especially a war on the West, so-called Western nations. That's where the war fully entered, the Western nations. And now we've got Ukraine, who's sort of like, who is more East-oriented, not, but that's why you've got the whole Ukraine crisis, because that started in 2014 with the Maidan coup, completely manipulated by the Western intelligence agencies, especially the US. Victoria Nuland, who's came out publicly that the whole Ukrainian government of Nazis are completely controlled by the US. But the main point that I wanted to make is that the war zone got into Europe beginning of 2020 by way of psychological warfare, which they, as we can see now, the enemies of life want to, because they're in panic mode. They're in panic mode because there's a diplomat of the earth speaking who has more authority than they'll ever have. That entered Europe, and it's by way of psychological warfare, which now want to go into a hot war, but they're not getting their way because they're done. Let me tell you why. So, as I said, the international system of law, global governance, and I gave the example of the Lisbon Treaty. The Lisbon Treaty in German translated is the Contract of Lisbon. That was in 2009. You've since had other CETA. Now, it's called global governance. And obviously the whole international set of rules related to climate change, which are UN-backed. You have the movement toward technocracy through the World Economic Forum. That's all international law. It's all based on international law. And the whole movement toward technocracy of the World Economic Forum on a governmental level is implemented through UN Agenda 2030. That's where all the governments have their membership in the UN, and they all signed up, those who are registered at the UN, to UN Agenda 2030, because otherwise you've got a problem if you don't go with us. Because the UN is controlled from the background from a pedo-satanic criminal network that I keep talking about. Those are the forces in the background that I, as diplomat of the earth, had to deal with. The international system of law is based on contracts. However, the way they do it is that they only need contractual agreement with all of the member states, with all the national governments. And then inside the national governments, okay, the national governments of each nation state has to then control its citizens to follow that guidelines, to follow the international law, as they call it, the contracts that they set up. The nation states and its representatives, the construct of the nation state, signs up to these international agreements like UN Agenda 2030. And these nation states then have to mind control its citizens to follow that agenda, which is based, like as in the beginning of 2020, is all based on mandates, so-called mandates. And the problem that they have, which is the information that I'm sharing with you right now, this is exactly the way that we're healing our macrocosmic situation. Not to go too deep, because I could lose myself in all of these details. I'm not going to lose myself in all of that. That's how we are solving the microcosmic situation that we have in the release and freedom of Errol Kaya and Leonie Maria Stadler. Is because in each individual country, okay, they have to sell the regulations, shall we say, regulations of global governance. Okay, that's your mandates of the COVIDian cult. You know, all the, and yeah, now we're going back into lockdown and it's all good. Those regulations, the country, the national governments have to sell to the people, to its so-called citizens. And it's all organized under this pyramid. Simple knowledge, let's keep it simple. Because then it's the truth. Truth is simple. You've got this pyramidical organization of imposing global governance of the United Nations. That is when you go further up the pyramid. So we've got a pyramid structure. And on that level of the pyramid, we've got the United Nations. Underneath the United Nations, you have the national governments. in this system. And above the United Nations, you have the secret society network where the World Economic Forum ties into, the Freemasons and all that. And on the highest level, they're governed by a pedo-satanic criminal network that serve the involutionary force directly, which is at the head of this pyramidical structure represented by a high priest of Satanism, as I keep talking about. And this whole pyramid is meant to have an electrical charge, okay? The electrical pyramid has to be complete. The electrical pyramid has to be complete. That all levels, from the United Nations to the national governments to its citizens, and the citizens, as they're registered in the system, most of them are mankind, that the citizens comply and give their consent to those so-called regulations that are in accord to global governance. UN Agenda 2030. And this only works when all of mankind complies. Because only then is the pyramid, can the electrical component work. How does the electrical pyramid that is represented by the United Nations, underneath nation states, above the United Nations, World Economic Forum, International Network of Secret Societies, International Network of Pedo-Satanic Criminal Network, that goes down to mankind? How is this whole electrical pyramid structure checkmated? As I keep saying, the pyramid, the downward pyramid of the one. Only takes one to checkmate the whole thing. It's in the geometry. That's what it is. That's how all of the, oh, we need more people to wake up. It all goes away. It's all bullshit. Sovereignty is all that it needs. To take full responsibility to discharge that pyramid. And that is called enlightenment. The path to it is awakening. No, I do not comply with evil. I'm free. I tell you your rights. You have to ask me if you're even allowed to stay here. I am authorized by Earth and forces of ultimate power. That's why I'm speaking to you right now. So I've survived all of the attacks, and I'll continue to survive them. Because I am the power. I am the charge. I am the danger, but only to those who do evil. It is now time for the truth to reign. The law is king. That's what I'm saying. So the principle of the one discharges this whole archon, vampire, empire, pyramidical mind control structure where everyone has to obey and comply. Discharges it. And how does it do it? Well, you have to go back into the, you have to look at the difference between legal and law. As I said, it comes down from this pyramid. A UN Agenda 2030 to the national governments, and they have to get all of mankind to comply. And think, oh, there's nothing you can do. Yeah, what should we change? Victim. That's the only way it's going to work. And what you say to discharge that pyramid is to ask, well, where did I sign? Where's my signature to that contract that some jackass signed in 2015? That doesn't apply to me. You have to show me proof of claim that I signed a contract. And then it goes deeper. So this is now really important information. Really, 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 really important. Okay, now listen to this. As I said, we've had a simulation of global governance, which has basically hit the scene since the beginning of 2020. We can all see this, the COVIDian cult, okay? We're run by the World Health Organization, aren't we? And its regulations. That's a branch of the United Nations. It's regulations. Regulation. It's not law. Let me tell you why. Take any of these regulations. Print them out. You can find them on any government website. It is the same with the microcosm of Errol and Leone, with the paperwork that we have. They all have, and it's all about finding the common theme. Yeah, because consciousness is pattern recognition, and I saw a pattern. All of the regulations of the COVIDian cult, including the paperwork that they want to use as a legal basis to detain Errol Kaya against his will, without a contract having been signed, and the trespass by way of kidnapping of Leone. And this international law system, the micro and the macrocosm, they have one thing in common. Do you know what it is? None of them have a signature of no one. The regulations, the so-called basis of trespass by way of kidnapping of Errol Kaya, trespass by way of kidnapping of Leonie Maria Stadler, one thing in common. There's no signature. No one signed anything. Which is the proof that it is a reality hack and not based in reality. Do you know that a government can only act on the basis of laws? Now, all of these regulations are not laws for the reason why I've just told you. There's no signature. Why? Because the signature, if they were to sign it, they would take the liability for it. That's why no one signs it, because no one wants to be liable for genocide, do they? And because there's no signature, no one takes responsibility, therefore, it is not law. It is only mind control that makes people do and then act all of these regulations, but it's not law. And that's how you solve the entire world crisis. And it's taken us a long time to get to this point, but as I said, this will take as long as it takes. And this goes really deep, the signature thing. The simulation of global governance. And it's all based, okay, it's all based on criminal law. Nothing is signed. Everyone just obeys. However, every official document of governments, in order to claim that you're a government, every official document has to have a signature, wet signature. If you do not have a wet signature on an official government document, said party, said individual is acting in the private and is privately liable to infinite amounts. Private liability. Here we go again. So none of this is law. And they haven't put their signature to it, which is when you do not sign with wet ink that which you claim is a official government document, an official so-called legal basis, an official basis from which you conduct your operations. If you can't show that wet signature, you're acting in the private, and you're privately liable to that which I set the law to for the damages that you're causing with trespass by way of unlawful detainment, trespass by way of kidnapping of Errol Kaya, trespass by way of kidnapping of Maria Leonie Stadler. I determine how much that damage has caused to me in the form of monetary units. Because I know you people, the only thing you listen to is money. That's why I'm using it. And that's how the whole thing is going to unravel, including the whole empire. There is no signature for nothing. No wet ink. Therefore, no one's taking responsibility, and therefore everything goes bellies up. Doesn't apply. And everyone is privately liable because you are not individuals enacting those regulations. The minister, or the man or woman who at times acts as ministers, they are not covered by the frame of official government as a government institution, because the legislation that they're enacting has not their signature. That's why they're not covered. And that's why they cannot claim that they are government agents, that they're working for the government. No, they're doing this in their private name, private liability. This changes everything. How do I know that? Because they took Errol and I needed to find and they took Leonie and I needed to find a solution to that. And now we've got a template. There's no signature. It's all criminal. Which is what I said. The reason why you, the Archon Vampire Empire, is failing is because you want all that more control over things without taking the responsibility. Which is your downfall, because power only comes with responsibility. It's embedded in the fabric of creation. Now I'm going to make sure that I will prove this as reality directly. That's the time it is. That's the time it is. We have the 13th of March today. And I think big things are about to happen for the 21st of March, Equinox Day, Spring Equinox. I call it the Great Reset. It's the Great Reset of mankind. We do not consent to evil anymore, and all evil has to leave Earth because I say so, and because we say so. It's our very reason we are here, because all of the government agents, listening to all of this, all of the government agents enforcing that regulation and enforcing so-called official government documents without a signature of yours, you are not protected by the insurance of working for a government institution. You're not protected by that anymore. All that needs to happen is for someone like me writing a notice to you in the private. Therefore, you have been notified of this fact that you are not protected by the governmental institutional frame, because you don't give your signature to that which you want to have as law, which is not law. And when you have been informed that you're acting as a private individual, causing harm to the extent that I set the law to in monetary units, when you've been informed by that, all of the insurances get out of the way. Because how are you going to explain to any insurance trying to cover the damage that you've caused when I can show proof of claim that you've been informed that you're acting against the law? The law that I set because I came onto earth together with my other people of mankind to set the law. That's the very reason of my existence, was to find out that law comes through us. And then we let the authority of the law of natural order decide if that which we set the law to is in alignment with the one and only truth of the one and only law, or the one and only natural order that no one shall escape from. We'll better talk with all of the politicians, or those men and women acting as politicians, because I don't think they know that, do they? Did you as a criminal mafia tell them? Oh yeah, if they know that, they can't do anything else anyway because they will get the chop by you. Wouldn't they? Because your whole system is based on blackmail. Anyone who doesn't run around like headless chickens and does exactly what you tell them, as control freaks that you are, the Archon Vampire Empire, control freaks. Anyone who doesn't do as you tell them, you show them pictures of and video footage of JF Kennedy, don't you? Or you tell them what happened to the president of Tanzania, what happened to the president of Madagascar, what happened to Hugo Chavez, and you brag about it, you laugh about it. Well, I'm not fucking laughing, Nicholas, am I? I'm having the last laugh in all of this, because I will never stop. And I know you can't stop me, no matter who you are. You can't stop me, because no one is above the natural order that governs everything. I am natural order incarnated for you, the network. This is the place we need to get to. We need to become walking, talking morality, walking, talking natural order, as we say in Austria. Natural order, walking, talking, in the flesh. The truth in the flesh. Natural order in the flesh. Natural law in the flesh. The principles in the flesh. The principles that govern all of creation, that are embedded in the fabric of the codes of reality, in the flesh. So don't hate on me, because that's what I am here to do. Criminals don't get away with it. And Earth has decided. Forces that govern this reality and that govern all of the multi-dimensions of reality. Those forces have decided that Earth is free, that freedom reigns for humanity, that truth is the basis of all communication of mankind. For us to be free, that is our very reason for existence. And that freedom means not only my freedom, but freedom for all of mankind, all of my human family. Because I have no freedom when people are suffering anywhere across the world because of your imposition. Yes, it's those forces of ultimate power that have decided that and are using me as a conduit to express that information. No matter how much you're trying to censor it, it hits the screen of reality. And I'll continue doing what I need to do. To first get Errol and Leonie out, for them to be free. And then take the whole planet back by knowing what totally checkmates your entire control system, which is you're not signing underneath the orders that you want implemented, that you want to have implemented. You're not signing those orders. That's why people will turn around and say, whoop, I won't do that order because it's not signed. That's the simplicity of how your empire falls. And I'm speaking the new signal, the new paradigm. How do you know that you are in the new paradigm? When you know what ended the old paradigm. What ended the old paradigm is private liability because no one is signing the orders that they want to enforce. That's what ends your empire, ends the old paradigm, and ushers in and initiates the new paradigm of freedom. Because everything I write, everything I say, I'm ready to sign all of that with wet ink if has to be. Yeah, why don't you do that? Now who's in a position of authority when they take responsibility and who's not when they don't take responsibility? Now you know why you are checkmated. There's nothing you can do about it. That is what it is. Right. We've covered a lot of ground there. I'm pretty exhausted now. So I'm going to end with this. I, as a High Commander of the highest source, Stephen Wybrow. And everyone can join me also in High Commanding in this moment. The power of the High Command. I, as a High Commander of the highest source, I give my full gratitude to forces of ultimate power that are with me and guiding and protecting me. I'm thankful that I can delegate protection for my being from any useless attacks by the involutionary force, to protect me from those attacks and to protect me from the drama that they want to cause. I want to thank the forces of ultimate power for protecting me. For I am happy to speak the message of freedom and truth for you. Thank you. I, as a High Commander of the highest source, Stephen Wybrow, I claim Earth as my property. I claim Earth as my kingdom. For I take care of Earth, and I protect Earth from foreign invasion, from agents that inflict evil on Earth. I protect Earth from evil agents in all its forms. Therefore, I claim Earth as my property. I claim Earth as my kingdom, because I take full responsibility for this realm. For I am in charge, because I say so. I ask for the freedom of Errol Kaya and Leonie Maria Stadler with the actions I take in full trust with Gnosis that opens the door to freedom, that are the key to freedom for Errol, Kaya, and Leonie Stadler. And that serves as the blueprint to take the planet back to who it belongs in the first place, to all of mankind. And we all realize that we take full responsibility for our realm and our planet, our Mother Earth that we love. Mother Earth, I love you and I thank you. Give my full gratitude. I surrender to the one and only highest source and to the one and only truth. I want to thank everyone. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is, hermetically sealed and protected. I'm thankful to collapse the wave function into that particularized reality for the freedom of mankind. It's time. Thank you to everyone listening here. Have a wonderful evening. Till next time, take very good care. Bye bye.